why can't I speak? I'm trying to travel it. Oh, that's not English. Hello my beautiful babes, what is up? It's Brandi. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. In today's video, I am so excited because I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time. If you guys can tell by the title, I'm going to be ranking all the Jeffree Star palettes that I own, and last night I sat here trying to rank them and it was almost impossible because I didn't know how I wanted to rank them. There are so many possibilities that I could have went with, but I finally narrowed it down and I'm pretty happy with it. So if you guys are interested in how I ranked my JSC palettes, then please keep on watching. Before we get started, if you guys like how I did my eyeshadow today, I just filmed a tutorial using the Conspiracy palette. If you guys are interested, I'll have it linked down below in the description box. But now, without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, let's just rip off the band-aid and start off with number 12. Something had to take that position, and unfortunately for me, that had to be the Mini Controversy palette, and this broke my heart placing this there because this was the first palette I ever purchased from JSC and the first palette that I bought that was expensive, that wasn't from the drugstore. Even with so much meaning behind it, it wasn't enough to boost it in the ranking, no matter how hard I tried. Now, the main reason why I put this in number 12 was because I don't really use it all that often, and it's very difficult for me to create looks using this palette. The formula, the pigmentation is always there with Jeffree Star Cosmetics. That will never be a problem or an issue. Never. It's very hard for me to feel inspired by this. It's beautiful in its own way. It doesn't call my name like the rest of the palettes do. Yeah, Mini Controversy unfortunately had to take that position. I'm sorry, girl. Moving on to number 11, which is another mini palette, and that is the Mini Breaker. I failed to mention before when talking about the Mini Controversy that I love Jeffree Star Cosmetics packaging. I always will. Anyway, the reason why I ranked Mini Breaker in number 11 is because I don't use it all that often, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart. When you have so many palettes, it's hard to love each and every one the same. There are going to be some that you are just drawn to a little bit more, and that's just how it is. That doesn't mean I don't love all of his palettes. It just means I just love some just a little bit more than the others. This palette right here is visually appealing. All the shades are gorgeous. I never had a problem with any of them. All the looks I've ever created, I fell in love with, and it's just easier to create looks with this palette than the Mini Controversy, in my opinion. Moving on to number 10, which is the Cremated palette. When this first came out, I obviously wanted it, but as time went on, I really looked at the color story and I asked myself, am I really going to dip into this as much as I think I'm going to? I said no. I actually got this palette in a mystery box, and when I got it, I was so happy, and I'm still happy to have this in my collection. It's definitely a staple and a need, especially around Halloween. This is my go-to. For number 9, I put the Bloodlust palette. This baby, visually, packaging, so different. The problem with this palette, although it is beautiful and iconic all on its own, it is annoying trying to fit this palette in my drawers. And trying to travel with it, not the best. Again, holds so much meaning and memories behind this because this was the first palette I used to do a tutorial. Like, that's insane. For 8th place is Blue Blood. This was very difficult for me because we all know I love blue. I just got this not that long ago. I obviously haven't used it that much. There are still many shades that I haven't had the chance to use. I plan to use this immediately once winter hits. Like, bam, first thing I'm gonna do. Next we have Blood Money for 7th place, and she is stunning. Although I love blue, green just works so much better on me. It works better with my complexion, it complements my eyes. I'm just more of a earth tone girl, and it just works better for me. This palette warms my heart. It makes me feel like one with earth. I just need more like green in my wardrobe so I could like wear the shades a little bit more, if that makes sense. Moving along to 6th place, which is Blood Sugar. Out of all the blood palettes, this is the one I obviously use the most, hence why it is ranked highest compared to all of them. Again, complements my skin tone so well. It just works. The Valentine's Day looks I've created, I really want to use this for Christmas and mix it in with Blood Money to create a beautiful look. I've been wanting to do that ever since I got both of those palettes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity I cannot miss. What I'm going to create, I have absolutely no idea. I'll worry about that when I get there. But this is definitely something you need. Here we are moving into the top 5. This was the easiest part. So starting off with the Mini Orgy palette. I use this palette so much, especially to highlight the inner corners, the brow bone, and even if I don't use it for that, these are amazing for highlight. Like, my favorite shade within this palette, hands down, is Frozen Fire. Just look at that beautiful goddess. Like, there's a reason she's front and center. Then for number 4 was the Star Ranch. This is everyday wearable makeup with pops of color. If you had to get any mini palette from Jeffree Star, I highly suggest the Star Ranch. My favorite by far. And like, just look at the packaging, like the little horses, they remind me of like My Little Pony. Moving on to number 3, which is the Orgy palette. I was torn between getting it or not, and that's because I love color, if you guys couldn't tell. I live for color. I don't do neutral makeup all that often, but when I got this in my mystery box, I was so happy and thankful because I use this religiously. Even though I don't do neutral looks all that often, I use these top 2 rows the most when it comes to setting my eyes. Like, Gender Fluid and Silk Robe are my go-to. The top 2 was difficult for me to make. It really was. But for 2nd place, I put Thirsty. I probably use this the most out of all of his palettes, and I know what you're probably thinking. If you love it so much and you use it so much, why the heck is it ranked 2nd? I will go into more detail about that once you figure out what came in first. But for now, let's put that on hold. I did crack it. I don't really want to talk about it. I'm very upset about that. But even though this is very bright, and I'm not really into bright colors like that, for some reason I use this palette so much. These shades I'm always going into, whether it's Quench, Submerge, Splash, this middle row specifically. There's not like a moment when I don't pull out this palette. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for, which is what exactly took 1st place. And if you guys couldn't have guessed it by now, it is the Conspiracy. This, as I said before, if you guys didn't see my 100th video, holds so much meaning to me. I had already started dabbling a little bit into makeup, but what really solidified my love and like what I really want to do in life was this palette, the series. It changed my life. I went from wanting to be a criminal psychologist to wanting to be a professional makeup artist. That's insane. So when I say this palette changed my life, it really did. This was the first big palette I ever purchased from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and I will never forget that entire day when I tried to get my hands on this palette. I will never forget it. It was absolutely insane. This packaging, unbelievable. The color story, it's not that appealing to some, and I get that. You have every right to your own opinion, but to me, I love this because this is fun pops of color with edge. And as I said before, that is me to a T. So that is why The Conspiracy took first place. Like, for some reason, finishing that off with The Conspiracy made me get a little bit emotional. I held it back, but it did. And I think that's because I never realized how many palettes I actually had by him and how beautiful they all look together and how proud I am about my collection. I saved so hard to get all these palettes, and I never fully processed how much I truly appreciate every single one of them. And I hope that makes sense. I hope it does. Because I know to some people this is just makeup. To me, this is therapy. This is my future. This is what makes me happy. It's how I spoil myself too. But yeah, you guys, that is basically it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, as well as hitting the notification bell. As always, every product mentioned today will be linked down below in the description box. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.